There comes a moment in every life, every soul, when the weight of worry presses down like a storm on the sea. You lie awake at night staring into the shadows, your heart heavy, your mind spinning, thinking, how will I get through this? You smile in public, but you're trembling inside. You pretend everything's fine, but your spirit is exhausted. You try to fix it, try to plan, try to control every outcome, but the more you try, the worse it gets. I came to tell you something that can change your life, something that can deliver peace where there is only pressure, joy where there is only pain, strength where there is only struggle. The secret is this: give it to God and stop worrying. That's not a cliche. That's not weak surrender. That's not spiritual laziness. That is the path of true power, the road to peace, the gateway to clarity and restoration. When you give it to God, you are not giving up, you are rising up. You are trading your fragile hands for the hands that never fail. You are taking your burden and laying it at the feet of the one who commands the wind, who parts the seas, who holds the world in place without breaking a sweat. When you truly give it to God, you are declaring, I trust you more than I trust myself. I believe you can do what I cannot. I surrender not out of fear, but out of faith. Worry has become the silent epidemic of our generation. People are drowning in anxiety, suffocating in silence, worn down by thoughts of what could go wrong. They're addicted to the idea of control, as if they can somehow fix every broken piece through effort alone. But the truth is, worry is a thief. It steals your time, it steals your focus, it steals your worship. It takes your energy and drains it into fears that often never even come true. God did not design your heart to carry the whole world. God designed your heart to trust Him. What if I told you that the very situation you're trying to fix is the one God is using to teach you to let go? What if the delay is not denial, but divine discipline? What if your worry is the wall that's blocking your breakthrough? You can't move forward if your hands are full of fear. You can't walk in the path God has laid before you if your mind is constantly running in circles. You must make the choice: will I try to manage everything, or will I give everything to God? God is not a last resort. God is not a backup plan. God is not waiting for you to reach your limit so He can step in. God is waiting for you to choose Him from the start. Give it to Him before it breaks you. Give it to Him before it drowns you. Don't wait until you're shattered and gasping. God is ready now, right now. In this very moment, God is listening. The secret is not in finding a new strategy, a new resource, or a new escape plan. The secret is surrender. Not the kind of surrender that leaves you powerless, but the kind that makes you unstoppable, because God is now fighting your battles. Some people say, if I don't worry, I'll lose control. My friend, you were never in control. That's the illusion. You were managing details, trying to predict outcomes, obsessing over what-ifs. But the future has never been in your hands. God holds tomorrow. God shapes destinies. God moves mountains in silence. You are not supposed to carry the crushing weight of what's next. You are supposed to walk in faith, trusting that God sees what you cannot. And God never sleeps, God never stumbles, God never needs a backup plan. Let me ask you, has worry ever solved anything for you? Has stress ever opened a door? Has anxiety ever healed a wound? The answer is no. All worry does is drain you, distract you, and distance you from the peace God has already prepared for you. That's why giving it to God is not weakness, it is wisdom. The wisest thing you can do in the face of uncertainty is to say, God, I give this to you. You know what I do not. You can go where I cannot. You can go where I cannot. You are already there before I arrive. You may be facing a crisis right now. You may be in the middle of financial ruin, family tension, health concerns, or emotional turmoil. You may be watching everything you built slowly fall apart. But here is the promise. If you give it to God, what falls apart in your life will fall into place in His hands. God is not intimidated by the size of your storm. God is not overwhelmed by the depth of your despair. You are not too broken. Your situation is not too far gone. When you stop worrying and start trusting, you will see the hand of God move in ways you never imagined. You cannot hold on to worry and hold on to faith at the same time. One must go. When your heart is full of fear, faith has no room to grow. But when you release fear, when you push worry out of the way, you make space for God to move. You make space for miracles. You make space for wisdom. You make space for divine timing. You're not running out of time. God is aligning time in your favor when you trust Him. The secret is not in the hustle, not in the plan, not in the stress. The secret is in the release. To give it to God in prayer. Not a shallow, rushed prayer, but a deep and honest cry from your soul. Tell God what you're afraid of. Tell God what keeps you up at night. Tell God what you've been trying to fix alone. Pour it all out. Empty yourself of the burden so that God can fill you with strength. God listens, God responds, God is not far. God is closer than your next breath. God is not waiting for perfect words. God is waiting for a sincere heart. And once you give it to God, leave it there. Don't snatch it back tomorrow. Don't pray and then go right back to panic. Leave it in God's hands and live as if it's already handled. That's faith. That's the key. Too many people pray but don't trust. They give it to God and then live like nothing changed. But when you really trust God, your actions match your prayers, your spirit finds rest, your mind slows down, your steps become steady, you walk like you know God is in control. The secret to peace is not in perfect conditions, it is in perfect surrender. You can have chaos around you and still be calm within you if you've given it to God. You can walk through fire and not be burned if you know God walks with you. You can face enemies and not be shaken if you know God is your defender. You don't need every answer, you need the one who holds the answers. You don't need to figure it all out, you need to trust the one who already has. And here is the powerful truth: God honors trust. When you give it to God, you're not just handing over your pain, you are planting a seed of faith. And faith grows. Faith produces fruit. Faith attracts favor. God does not overlook the one who trusts Him. When you lay down your worry, God lifts up your future. When you choose peace over panic, God sends provision that no man can block. There are doors waiting to open the moment you stop doubting. There are blessings stored up for the one who says, God, I don't know how, but I know you do. Your worry is lying to you. It's telling you the worst case scenario. It's telling you that you're alone. It's telling you that nothing will change. But worry is not a prophet. God is. Worry doesn't know the future. God does, and God's plans are never for destruction. Even in pain, even in loss, even in delay, God is still working for your good. Don't confuse silence for absence. God is never absent. God is never confused. God is never late. You've tried everything else. Why not try surrender? You've strategized, calculated, panicked, vented, Googled, and cried. Now it's time to let go. Not just once, but daily. Give it to God each morning. Give it to God each night. When the thoughts rush in, hand them back. When the fears whisper, answer with faith. When the doubts knock, open the door with confidence in God. This is a lifestyle, not a one-time act. The secret is not in doing more. The secret is in trusting more. And when you finally release it, when you finally stop worrying, you will notice something begin to shift. Your sleep will return, your joy will increase, your relationships will improve, your steps will quicken. Why? Because God is now carrying what was crushing you. God is navigating what you couldn't understand. God is solving what you didn't even know was a problem. The invisible hand of God is doing visible things. And all because you made the decision to give it to Him. There's a difference between believing in God and trusting God. Many believe, few trust. Trust is deeper. Trust says, even if I don't see it yet, I know you're working. Trust says, even if it's taking longer than I thought, I still won't worry. Trust says, even if I feel afraid, I won't act out of fear, I will act out of faith. That kind of trust moves heaven. That kind of trust unleashes blessing. That kind of trust silences the voice of fear and invites the voice of God. You must understand, your peace is not determined by the absence of problems, but by the presence of trust. Trust in God is not passive. It is a living, breathing, powerful act of spiritual defiance against fear, doubt, and confusion. It is to stand firm when everything around you is shaking. It is to say, I may not know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds tomorrow. And when you reach that place where your soul anchors itself in God, you will begin to walk through storms without drowning. You will begin to carry burdens without being crushed. You will begin to live above the noise of life because your ears are tuned to a higher voice, the voice of God. Worry is not just a habit, it's a spiritual battle. Every time your thoughts spiral into anxiety, you are stepping into a battlefield of the unseen, but you are not unarmed. You have the weapon of surrender. You have the shield of faith. And above all, you have access to the one who speaks and chaos bows. God is not limited by time, resources, or human ability. What seems impossible for you is a whisper for God. What feels like the end for you is the beginning of something divine in His hands. But it all begins when you say, God, I release this. I will not hold what you have called me to hand over. It is not your job to control everything. It is your calling to trust the one who can. Control is an illusion. You can't control other people's choices. You can't control the timing of outcomes. You can't control the seasons of life, but you can choose to trust God in every circumstance. And that choice unlocks power. That choice releases peace. That choice transforms chaos into calm. When you let go of what you can't control, you make room for God to show you what He's had planned all along. Some of you are weighed down because you're still holding on to things God told you to release a long time ago. You're holding on to old pain, old regrets, old failures, toxic relationships, financial fear, uncertain futures. And every day you carry it, you rob yourself of the joy that God is trying to pour into your life. When you clutch tightly to your own understanding, you block the very blessing you're praying for. Let go, let it fall. If it is meant for your life, God will restore it. If it is not, God will replace it. Either way, you win when you trust Him. Ben Darek lives within us. That is a sure. And don't think that surrender means doing nothing. Surrender means doing the right thing, trusting God while you walk in obedience. You do your part and you leave the rest in God's hands. You stay faithful, stay honest, stay prayerful, stay pure in heart, and God takes care of the outcome. You don't have to manipulate the process. You don't have to bend your integrity to make things happen. God honors those who walk uprightly, those who choose trust over tricks, faith over shortcuts, patience over panic. God is not watching your situation in confusion. God is not pacing the floor of heaven trying to figure out how to help you. God already has a plan, a perfect one, but He waits for you to stop grabbing the wheel so He can drive the vehicle of your destiny. You're not meant to carry the stress of every outcome. You're meant to walk each step in faith and let God be the author of your results. There is no peace in the place of control. There is only peace in the presence of surrender. And listen, this is not a one-time decision. This is a daily discipline. You must wake up every morning and say, today I will not be ruled by worry. Today I give it to God. And every time worry tries to creep in, say it again, speak it out loud if you must, declare it with your whole being. Because fear has a voice, but so does faith. You can choose which one gets the microphone in your mind. You can choose which one shapes your actions. The world may shake, but your spirit doesn't have to. Why? Because you placed your trust in the unshakable. Some of you are carrying the burden of waiting. You've prayed, but you haven't seen the answer. You've hoped, but the breakthrough hasn't come. Let me remind you, delay is not defeat. God is not ignoring you. God is developing you. What you call a delay, God calls preparation. What you see as stagnation, God sees as growth. Don't let worry fill the gap between prayer and promise. Let faith fill that space. Let peace be your companion while you wait. Give your timetable to God and trust that His timing is perfect, even when it feels late. There are blessings that only come when you stop striving and start resting in God's power. Resting does not mean doing nothing. It means trusting while you keep walking forward. It means you don't panic when doors close. It means you don't give up when the path gets hard. You know God is still guiding you, still providing for you, still working all things together for your benefit. Even the things you don't understand, especially those things. When you stop worrying, you create an atmosphere where miracles can grow. You silence the noise that drowns out God's guidance. Worry speaks in the voice of, what if? Faith speaks in the voice of, even if. Even if it gets worse before it gets better, I will not fear. Even if I don't see the full picture, I will trust the one who does. Even if I face giants, I will walk forward knowing that God never sends me into a battle without a victory in mind. You are not alone. Even now, God is surrounding you. You may feel unseen, unheard, forgotten, but that is a lie. God has never taken His eyes off you. God is not distant. He is present. In your tears, He is close. In your silence, He listens. In your weariness, He carries you. If you would only stop gripping that worry so tightly, you would feel the gentle strength of His presence lifting you, steadying you, holding you together when everything around you is falling apart. There is a freedom that comes when you give it to God, a holy freedom, a sacred release. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, think differently. You no longer live in fear of what might go wrong because your faith is grounded in what will go right, in God's way, in God's time, through God's power. You don't wait for peace to find you. You choose it by giving your cares to the one who never fails. Don't let the urgency of life push you into panic. Let it push you into prayer. Let it drive you deeper into dependence on God. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing to surrender. Surrender your plans, surrender your timelines, surrender your need to be in control, and in that surrender you will find strength that no struggle can shake. You will find wisdom that no worry can match. You will find peace that no pressure can steal. God is not just present in your victories, God is present in your valleys, in your quiet breakdowns, in your silent cries, in your desperate prayers. And God responds to the heart that lets go. God moves when you move out of the way. The more you release, the more He reveals. The more you trust, the more He transforms. Your breakthrough is not waiting on your performance. It's waiting on your surrender. Give it to God. All of it. Not just the big things, not just the things you can't fix, but even the small daily thoughts that cause unrest. Hand them over. Let God carry what you were never created to hold. This is the secret that so many miss while they run in circles, trapped in cycles of stress, burden, and fear. The secret that opens doors no man can shut. The secret that brings light into the darkest hour. The secret that carries you when you have no strength left to stand. Give it to God. Stop worrying. And watch what happens when heaven responds to a heart fully surrendered. So many are weighed down by battles in the mind, internal storms, invisible wars that rage in silence. And while people around you see the surface, only God sees the struggle beneath. That war between faith and fear, between trust and doubt, between surrender and control. But I say this to you today with fire in my soul. The storm inside you will not subside until you finally say, God, I give you the whole thing. Not just the parts I don't like, not just the things I cannot fix, but everything, my thoughts, my fears, my expectations, my outcomes, I give them to you fully and completely. It takes boldness to surrender. It takes courage to stop clinging. It takes faith to say, even though I don't understand, I will still trust. And that kind of faith is not found in noise, but in stillness. In that quiet place where your soul kneels before God and confesses, I can't carry this anymore and I don't have to. Do you realize what kind of freedom that brings? When you truly come to the end of your own strength, when you truly come to the end of your own strength, that is when God's strength begins to manifest in power. That is when the fog begins to lift. That is when your eyes are opened and you begin to see, not from a place of panic, but from a position of power. Because worry limits your vision. It narrows your focus down to what's wrong, what's missing, what's delayed. But when you give it to God, your vision expands. You begin to see beyond the temporary. You begin to sense the divine orchestration behind the delays, the rejections, the closed doors. You begin to understand that what didn't happen for you was God's protection, that the people who walked away were God's redirection, that the failure wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. But you only see it when your mind is no longer clouded by fear and anxiety. When you lay it all at the feet of God, clarity begins to rise. And listen to this, God doesn't just take your burden, God transforms it. What was once your source of torment becomes your testimony. What was once your deepest pain becomes your greatest platform. But it cannot happen while your hands are closed, clutching the weight of worry. You must open your hands in full surrender. You must choose the higher road, the road where your spirit walks ahead of your emotions, the road where your decisions are no longer shaped by fear, but by faith in God's unchanging character. God is not moved by your panic, God is moved by your faith. The moment you shift from anxiety to assurance, you create a space for divine intervention. And that intervention may not always look the way you expected. Sometimes the answer is not a quick fix, it's a transformation of your inner man. Sometimes God allows the storm to continue so that your roots grow deeper, so that your dependence is no longer on your ability but fully anchored in God's sufficiency. The peace you're looking for is not around you, it's within you, and it begins with full release. Too many walk through life with clenched fists full of control, of timelines, of expectations. But God responds to open palms and a surrendered heart. When you say, God, take this pain, take this pressure, take this need, take this future, you are saying, I trust you more than I trust myself. And when that kind of trust is released, the heavens respond. Not always with thunder, not always with signs, but with a stillness, a deep, unshakable stillness that becomes your anchor even when everything around you feels like it's spinning. And don't let the enemy of your soul convince you that giving it to God is giving up. No, it's going up, it's rising higher. It's saying, I will not be reduced to fear, I will not be driven by anxiety, I will rise and I will rest in the power of the Almighty. There is a dignity in surrender, there is a majesty in humility before God. And when you empty yourself of worry, you are filled with a wisdom that comes not from books, not from experience, but from heaven itself. Some of you are carrying what was never yours to carry. You inherited fear, you absorbed anxiety. You learned to worry from people who didn't know how to trust. But today that cycle can be broken. God does not call you to carry generational burdens. God calls you to carry faith. God calls you to rise above the weight of yesterday and walk in the strength of divine trust. And you may say, but I've been hurt too many times. I've trusted before and been disappointed. I understand. But trusting in God is not the same as trusting in man. People may fail you. Life may shake you. But God does not fail. God does not abandon. God does not change. And here is a deep truth. Worry is worship pointed in the wrong direction. When you worry, you are placing more belief in the power of problems than in the power of God.